PFF is running one of their biggest sales ever. 40% off a PFF Plus subscription right now using the promo code BLACKFRIDAY. That means that you get everything fully unlocked. You get the grades, you get the stats, you get all the fantasy advice, the betting advice, which our new player prop tool is available on web as well to make you a smarter, better. You've got all of the draft analysis, the free agency analysis, all of that great stuff. Subscribe.pff.com to get 40% off a year-long PFF Plus subscription. Get it now. Let's get to one of our favorite football games that we had this past week, Seahawks and the Rams. Close to the end, Rams end up winning 21-19. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Rams, safety Kam Kinchens was a major difference maker in this game, a 93.5 overall game grade. Linebacker Nate Landman with an 89.8. Linebacker Omar Spates an 81.2. Offensive guard Steve Avila an 80.1. Cornerback Kobe Durant a 78.7, and then Matthew Stafford a 71.1. On Seattle's side of things, wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, as he often is, was their top-graded player with an 84.0. Safety Nicky Manwari a 78.1. Edge rusher DeMarcus Lawrence a 77.6. Running back Kenneth Walker a 76.0. Tight end A.J. Barner a 72.0. And then Sam Darnold a 39.2, his worst game of the season. Stat that told the story, Dalton.
Now, I get it with Sam Darnold, where, yes, this was his worst game of the season. Mm-hmm. And since the second this game ended, all the narrative has been framed as, wow, Darnold let him down. He let Seattle down. Look at this. There's Jets Sam Darnold again, seeing ghosts and all that, right? Can we just give the proper credit here where it's due to this Rams secondary that had their highest coverage grade in 2 years? And really, when you came into this year with the Rams, what were really the two big questions, at least that I thought? Secondary and pass protection, which at times has still been a little off, but it's been good enough, and Stafford knows how to work around it. Those are the two things to me. But you look at the secondary. We came into the season going, man, their front four, so the defensive line looks elite. Maybe they figured it out at linebacker. You got Landman and Spates playing really well at linebacker, but what do we have back there in the secondary? Well, if they're going to play like this and prevent explosive plays the way they did in this game, the Rams might be the best team in football. They might be the best team in football anyway, but this was another level for this secondary, especially when you're talking about Sam Darnold coming into it as arguably the most efficient downfield passer in the league so far this year. 85.5 coverage grade as a team. Like I said, they're best in 2 years. The 4 interceptions, 2 more forced incompletions, and 2 huge ones in that. At that, Emmanuel Forbes in the end zone with the breakup, I believe covering Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then Kobe Durant with a pass breakup on the sideline on the very last drive. 7 coverage stops, only 4 missed tackles in coverage, and we know Seattle's got a lot of weapons with some speed who can work after the catch, especially Jackson Smith-Njigba. You talk about a guy like Rashid Shaheed, those guys. You look at Darnold then, okay? And again, obviously a lot of it's on him. He threw 4 interceptions, 3 for 12. On 10-plus yard throws for an offense that the vertical passing game is their greatest asset. And the other thing I want to mention here, it's not just Darnold. You watch this game again with the All-22 back in sequence, and you go, man, nobody's open. The Rams were so disciplined, and they're a heavy zone coverage team. They were so disciplined in their approach to matching these concepts and getting where they needed to be. Seattle only a 42.5% open target rate in this game. That's the lowest in any Rams game this year. That's the second lowest in any Seahawks game this year. Overall, it's not just, okay, Sam Darnold let him down. I get it. And the grading says, everything says it, right? Sam Darnold has his worst game of the year, worst game he's had in a while. Okay, cool. And maybe, just maybe the Rams might be a kryptonite for him. He's low for the last 3. But this Rams secondary, Darius Williams, Kam Kinchens, Kobe Durant, I mean, Emmanuel Forbes coming out of nowhere to finally look like a first-round pick, right? I mean, you got Quentin Lake, all of these
has been awesome.
All of these guys that they've gotten via so many different ways of acquiring them, the draft or free agency or trades, or you get guys off the scrap heap. They're really coming together as a legitimate coverage unit now. Trevor, for the season now, they lead the league in coverage grade. They don't have a Sauce Gardner or Patrick Surtain or Kyle Hamilton or somebody like that. They don't have all those household names, but the way they're playing as a unit really culminated in this game. And it's not just Darnold letting the Seahawks down. The Rams coverage unit beat Sam Darnold on this day.
Yes. No, I agree with you. And it pairs perfectly with, I was going to shout out, my most impressive was the Rams defensive line, actually, right? Because we talked about this a little bit with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they were facing the Buffalo Bills. And I was like, they don't have it up front. They just don't have a way to get after the quarterback, and they're not disruptive enough with 4 rushers. I wondered if that would be the case with this Rams team, if they would blitz a little bit more in this game, if they would try to get after Sam Darnold and rattle him. The thing was, though, they didn't have to. When you look at just Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, 79.1 run defense grade as a unit, just those 4 players, 64.1 pass rush grade. The Rams only rushed 4 players more than 75% of the time. It was 75.8% of the time they only had 4 rushers out there because they trusted those dudes to get it done, and that allowed them to have more bodies in the secondary, specifically Kam Kinchens. And he's the player that I wanted to highlight here. If you just go watch the first interception. That first interception, I think people look at it and be like, what are they doing? He didn't even see the safety. Buddy, I wouldn't have seen the safety. I don't know if Drew Brees would have seen the safety. Kam Kinchens comes from the other side of the field, and there's no one who's like an immediate threat at the time when he starts breaking across the field. But if you go watch that play, there is a wide receiver. I can't remember who it was. There is a wide receiver who is running a vertical route who actually beats the corner. So on Kam Kinchens' side of the field, he has cap coverage over that player. And he goes, nope, Sam Darnold's throwing it to this guy. He knew. Yep. Kam Kinchens had such an incredible beat on what the Seahawks were going to do this week. It was so much fun to go back and watch the tape. That first interception, he comes all the way across the field. If you're a quarterback, I don't even think you're considering that he's going to be there. Why? Because the corner's up in press coverage. You know you got a vertical wide receiver to your right. He's going to threaten that, and that's going to force Kam Kinchens to stay on his side of the field. And instead, Cam just went, nope, you're not throwing this ball. He goes all the way across the line of scrimmage and undercuts it, and you go, oh my gosh, what an unbelievable play. Are you watching it right now?
No, I'm actually looking. There's another point I'm going to make about him.
And then when you get to another one of the interceptions where they've got Elijah Arroyo in motion, he comes to the slot and he's running sort of like a bending seam vertical route where he's trying to get around the linebacker and he's trying to get to the point where he's able to cut off exactly where the safety is to basically hit the open shot up the seam. The linebacker, I think it's Nate Landman, does such a good job squeezing Elijah Arroyo so that loop around him has to take longer to where Sam Darnold is basically just throwing this timing hole shot between the linebacker and the safety, and Cam immediately breaks on it and intercepts it, and that's his second interception on the day. So, yes, Sam Darnold did not play particularly well in this game. I don't look at this game and think that it was Sam Darnold on the Jets. I don't even think that this game is Sam Darnold on the Vikings of what we saw last year. The last interception that he had, yeah, it's not great. It's the weird jump pass on 3rd and 3 where he goes, okay, well, I've got to make a play here because we got to do something. And he throws it, and it's basically like, okay, it's an interception. It was almost going to be a turnover anyways. Look, he shouldn't have thrown it. I'm not trying to make too many excuses for that one. That one's the worst one. But the other interceptions that were in this game, I think the other 3 interceptions were basically just hat tip to what the Rams are doing.
Yep.
Hat tip to the Rams defense. They were the best unit on the field that day.
Yeah, they were. And to your point about Kinchens, and it's something you go back to looking at his college tape back in his Miami days, right? And you go, look, this guy ran a 4.65 40. He's small. He's not that fast. How in the world is he so good, and is this going to hold up in the NFL? And you go, when you watched even his college tape, the best trait he had was his eyes. He made up for it by always being a step ahead. And he's my most impressive guy, like you mentioned. You've got the 2 interceptions. You've got the elite coverage grade. He was just outstanding in this game along with the rest of that secondary. But that was really always the big thing to me as I go, man, he can see. He just sees things before they happen, and you need a safety like that. And in this defense, he's not asked to be the single high center fielder very often at all. They run a lot of 2 high shells out here in L.A., so I think it's just a perfect fit for him, and he went to the right team. Chris Shula's done a great job of developing him on the back end, but that's what it is his football IQ is his greatest asset, and that showed up in this game.
Anything most disappointing, most impressive? Anything you didn't hit?
I mean, it's Sam Darnold, but it's also I don't think we need to sit here and have a full-blown panic about Sam Darnold. And at the end of the day,
what do they get the revenge at home in a couple weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks,
week 15 or somewhere
thereabouts.
And
it's in Seattle. I can't wait for that.
And
game.
at the end of the day, the other two problems, other than the turnovers, were the the Seahawks. They moved the ball well. They just went 1 for 4 in the red zone, also, and you at least had a shot there with a 60-yard field goal at the end. So, I think when you look at everything that went down in this game, you got an even football game.
Right.
And the Rams defense just made a handful of plays that didn't allow the Seahawks to convert drives, especially A, with the turnovers, and B, in the red zone. And I think Mike McDonald has to be thrilled with the way his defense played after the first quarter. The Rams weren't moving the ball at all after the first quarter.
Yeah, my most disappointing was Devontae Adams. 8 targets, 1 catch, 2 drops in this game. He just didn't look himself. I think that everybody involved is going to be given it their best in Week 15. So I already can't wait for Week 15, especially because the chess match that we talked about on the Wednesday show last week of the Rams playing the most 12 and 13 personnel in the NFL this season, or at least having the highest grade of those snaps. I think they were second most in heavy personnel snaps, but they had the highest grade by far in that category. And then the Seahawks, they have played the most nickel and dime snaps in the NFL, I think, since it was like week 5 or week 6. So I wondered, okay, who bends first, right? Who conforms to who when it comes to matching personnel? The Rams, in heavy personnel sets in this game, had their 3rd lowest offensive grade in 12 and 13 personnel. So Seattle handled it very well. I wasn't sure. I don't know exactly if they stayed in dime or nickel, or if they did end up going to base for a good amount of it. But whatever they did, they neutralized what the Rams normally do as their X factor play when they have heavier personnel on the field. So I just can't wait for week 15 already. And if Seattle wins that game in week 15, I'm going to be begging for a playoff matchup. I'm going to be begging for a grudge match.
Just looking at the counts, it looks like, and I thought this was going to be the case just to see how it would play out, but it looks like they just stuck in nickel and went with it. And Nicky Manwari on the field for 48 out of 51 snaps. That tells me that they
probably just put him at a linebacker level, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they've been doing mostly anyway.
Right.
Yeah, he's basically, like I've talked about with Kyle Hamilton, and Derwin James does it a bit too, but Eamon Wari is essentially their 3rd linebacker. He's just athletic enough where he can play out in the flats and in coverage if you need him to. That's what I figured they were going to do, is just go, you know what, this is our core setup, and this is how we're going to do it.
Right, this is what we do.
And if they run through it, then we'll adjust, and if they don't, we're just going to stay here because this is what our ideal look on defense looks like.